Northwestern has a very unique situation ahead of them where they have something to prove. This sounds weird to say, right? Because Northwestern always feels like the program that's the standard bearer. Everybody wants to be like a program like Northwestern. But this year, this program has struggled in ways that we hadn't really seen in quite some time and doesn't look as superhuman, as immortal as it had in years past. But it gets a chance to begin to flip that narrative back to classic Northwestern invincibility tomorrow against Colorado. This is Winning the Draw, a Northwestern lacrosse podcast. My name is Matt Campbell, and you're listening to WNUR Sports, your home for Northwestern athletics. A Mother's Day massacre has brought Northwestern into the quarterfinal against its ghost of Christmas past, the Colorado Buffaloes. Welcome into another edition of Winning the Draw. I am your host, Matt Campbell, flying solo for the second straight week, but that's okay because we've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to squeeze it all in about 15-20 minutes or so. Northwestern Colorado, a rematch of Colorado's season opener, shocker of the year per se. Highest ranked win in Colorado lacrosse history, defeating Northwestern in Ryan Fieldhouse earlier this year. Northwestern's first unranked loss in over 20 years. I want to say the year was 2002. Last time Northwestern had an unranked loss at home. And the Cats have a chance to rectify it on home turf once again in the NCAA tournament, as that tournament is running through Chicago right now. But to recap, before we get into this matchup, last week, Northwestern ran through the James Madison Dukes. 17-5 final score. Madison Taylor leading the charge. How about an 8-piece chicken McNugget with all the sauce? What sauce? All of them. Because all 8 goals were crafty, and the exclamation point that she had on this game, twirling through a sea of purple to score from just outside the crease, it was masterful. It was incredible. Insert any adjective that you want to describe it. But beyond Madison Taylor, this was Maddie Epke's coming out party in the NCAA tournament. She's had her ups and downs throughout the season, but this was a true showcase of her settling into her role at Northwestern as a facilitator and a draw taker. A team-high 9 draw controls, dominating her former team in James Madison all day in the draw circle. 5 points on the day, and a goal and 4 assists. What a game for her. What a game for her. Didi Foster with a hat trick, +1, 4 goals on the day. Noelle Cumberland with a pair. Lucy Monroe, Monroe. And Annabelle Child with a goal apiece to cap it off. This was classic Northwestern. There's not much to say. James Madison never really had a chance. The Cats put up 5 in the first quarter, and it was a runaway train from there. As a matter of fact, James Madison didn't score multiple goals in a single 15-minute period for the rest of the game. It was ridiculous. It was an absolutely ridiculous performance from Northwestern, all around sound lacrosse, and a team that definitely looks like it's the best in the country. But that's where the whole narrative starts. Because at the beginning of the season, you could have easily said Northwestern and UNC, and Boston College for that matter, were all interchangeable number 1 teams in the country. UNC obviously got the nod because it won the national championship last year, but Northwestern had a very legitimate case at the start of the year to claiming that it was the best constructed program in the entire country. Colorado was the first team to disprove that narrative with the come-from-behind win, upending the Cats in clutch time, which is something that is so unprecedented in this modern era of women's lacrosse. Northwestern down the stretch is generally the best team you can possibly face, and the Buffaloes proved that to not be the case back on April 9th. A shocker in January. Very much a cold-blooded win on a cold night in Evanston, and the Buffaloes rode that momentum, eventually becoming the Big 12 tournament champions, securing the last seed in the NCAA tournament, number 8, and beating a powerhouse in Florida in that title game, which I went into depth about last week. Maddie Shupp is having an incredible season, the clear leader of this Buffalo's offensive unit, and Northwestern's defense is going to have to find a way to stop her. But more importantly, Northwestern's offense has to overcome Colorado's zone defense that was so stifling to the team. Maddie Taylor obviously found a way to overcome it. She's a savvy veteran that knows how to dissect all kinds of defenses. I mean, when you're going up against teams like Boston College, I guess you could throw Notre Dame into that upper tier now. Boston College, Notre Dame, North Carolina every single year. You start to pick up on a couple of things. And Maddie Taylor's experience has really come out to show this season. Even more so than last season. Because this season, she's had to think a little bit harder in different parts of the game. Like, she's not scoring as many goals, but the passing game for her is really coming on full display. Not that she didn't know how to pass, ladies and gentlemen, but this season she really got the chance to, and she's shown it off. In the draw circle, fighting her tail off to draw control for Northwestern all season, causing turnovers on the clear for the Cats offense to turn things around, scooping up ground balls, being smart, drawing free positions as she always does. She excels in every single part of the game, and she's going to be integral if Northwestern wants to overcome the zone defense that hindered them in the regular season. And so, what I'm saying is, this tournament is going from a Northwestern quest to win a national championship on the lakefront storybook, ending to a rocky roller coaster season, to this is a chance to Northwestern now to right its wrongs and overcome the ghosts of their Christmas past in 2026. With Colorado on the horizon, and if the Cats overcome the Buffaloes, Stony Brook and Johns Hopkins, either one of them could be in their crosshairs in the Final Four. Then when you get to the Natty, ladies and gentlemen, North Carolina or Maryland or Navy could be waiting for them on the lakefront. Obviously, there's no history. Yeah, and Stanford has a say. Let's say that. Stanford does have a say in all this, not to disrespect the Cardinal. They upset Michigan in the second round to have the chance to upend North Carolina, and Stanford was one of the best teams in the nation this season. By the IWLCA, had its stints in the top 5 this season. But if things continue to trend the way that they're trending, we're heading to a Northwestern North Carolina national championship game in which Northwestern gets to prove once and for all if it's able to play its game against the Tar Heels, because it did it in 2025 in the national title game. Northwestern gets a chance to prove once and for all that it is on a level above the Tar Heel, and by default, the number 1 team in the country. The number 1 team in the country per the NCAA committee, but not the number 1 team in the country per the coaches poll. That is for your interpretation. From my interpretation, it seems as though the lacrosse world is not ready to accept Northwestern as the top dog, which is fair. When you look back at Northwestern's season, losing to Ohio State and Colorado at home, 2 unranked losses in the same season, something basically unfathomable in the Kelly and Monty Hiller era, you don't think that Northwestern's the best team in the nation because of that. And so it's hard for them to believe, even after gritty wins over the number 1 team, IWLCA number 1 team, twice, even after a gritty win over Michigan, even after a thriller in the conference championship and destroying a formidable team I can't really say mid-major because there's no such thing as mid-major in lacrosse because any team from any conference can win it every single year. But destroying an unranked team, an underdog, a dark horse per se, in the second round isn't enough because of the struggles Northwestern had in the past. But what we're at now, the place that we're at now, is a place where Northwestern can absolutely crush and wipe away the struggles of yesterday by rectifying them, playing the same opponents, getting your lick back, so to speak. If you want to use it in those terms. The road ahead for Northwestern from the quarterfinal on is a love letter to its 2026 season. A chance to invoke revenge against a Colorado Buffalo squad, a game, youthful, energetic Colorado Buffalo squad that will be ready to play defense come tomorrow afternoon, and again, recreate upset of the year over Northwestern. I doubt that Madison Taylor is going to stand for that. I doubt that Maddie Epke, who had one of the worst games of the season, for lack of a better term, is going to stand for that. I doubt that Jenica Kowalko is going to stand for that. I can't see a world where those three don't have good games and don't lead this team into I don't want to say probable, but I want to say likely victory over the Buffs. And then in the Final Four, if you get there, you have either a matchup that the Cats were on the ropes in, rehashed between them and Stony Brook, where the Seawolves had a sizable lead going into the fourth quarter, but suffered to classic cardiac cat, clutch time, something with the C. Can't think of something with the C. Classic cardiac cat, clutch time. Oh, man. Oh, dang. I had it in my hands and I lost it, guys. But you know what I'm trying to say. Northwestern, one of the best clutch teams in the country. And that is what was the difference maker in that one. The Seawolves probably have a very salty taste in their mouths because of that. And they're going to be chomping at the bit if they get through Johns Hopkins to get at a team like Northwestern in the Final Four. As for the aforementioned Blue Jays of the Big Ten, that was the top scoring offense in conference play. Believe it or not, over 15 goals a game. That brings about the question, can Northwestern beat an Ava Angelo-led team? Because when they first faced off inside Ryan Fieldhouse, that was not the Ava Angelo that Johns Hopkins knows and loves. She was completely stifled. Credit to the Northwestern defense. But if we're talking about offensive firepower versus offensive firepower, if Northwestern believes it is the best offense in the entire conference, then it'll have to beat the highest scoring offense in the conference at full strength. And so that's what that brings. And then, if we get to that point where we can say then, most likely it'll be a rematch of epic proportions. And you know the two teams on the other side of the bracket that'll bring that rematch of epic proportions. UNC and the Maryland Terrapins. Or the alternate. Or we get a fresh finale. A fresh, unforeseen, unexpected, but intriguing finale with a young upstart program like a Stanford or a Service Academy in Navy, who's been tearing up the American Conference this season and has been throwing upset after upset at the lacrosse world. Just beat a Syracuse team who boasts the ACC goalkeeper of the year to punch its ticket to the quarterfinal. I don't care that Syracuse was unranked. Syracuse is probably the second best team in the ACC. Let's be so for real, guys. No matter what happens, no matter what the outcome is, beyond what Northwestern can control, I'll say this. Northwestern has a very unique situation ahead of them where they have something to prove. This sounds weird to say, right? Because Northwestern always feels like the program that's the standard bearer, like the benchmark. Like, I'm running out of analogies. The gold star, per se. Everybody wants to be like a program like Northwestern. But this year, this program has struggled in ways that we hadn't really seen in quite some time and doesn't look as superhuman or as immortal as it had in years past. But it gets a chance to begin to flip that narrative back to classic Northwestern invincibility tomorrow against Colorado. Will it get the job done? Will it take the first step? Ladies and gentlemen, you already know the saying that I'm trying to embed in the podcast here in WNUR. So if you're at home, I don't mean to be corny, but you can go ahead and say it with me. We shall see and reconvene next week on Winning the Draw, hosted by Matt Campbell. Thank you folks at home for tuning in. I'll kick back, relax, and enjoy some lacrosse tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. And if you're looking for the Cats, you can catch them on ESPNU, or you can tune in to WNUR Sports for the radio broadcast. I'm sure that will be fun. Gabby Agozi will be on that call alongside Herschel. To each their own. Everybody prefers, radio broadcast or TV broadcast. To me, I prefer the radio broadcast for this one. I think you folks at home should too. Show the WNUR guys some love, and show the Lake Show some love on its quest for its first natty since 2023 on home turf. Thank you folks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And as always, go Cats. This has been Winning the Draw, brought to you by your host, Matt Campbell. If you've been watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of all of our future episodes and our other content, like the Sunday Sports Blog. If you've been listening on Spotify, tap the follow button at the top of our page to add this show to your library. It's been a pleasure being with you today. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, go Cats. See you next time.